Billionaire ex-husband brought his mistress to New Year's party to mock her, but by midnight, her new husband arrived with her triplets. 10, 9, 8. The ballroom erupted in synchronized counting, champagne glasses raised toward crystal chandeliers that caught the light like captured stars. Faye Brennan stood by the entrance, her emerald dress a slash of defiant color against the gold and white opulence of the Ashcroft Hotel ballroom. Her phone buzzed in her hand. 1 minute away, the text said. She looked up, across the sea of designer gowns and tailored tuxedos, past the couples wrapped around each other in anticipation of midnight kisses, straight to the center of the room where Donovan Ashcroft stood like a king surveying his kingdom. 7, 6, 5. He was watching her. Of course he was. He had been watching her all night, tracking her movements with those blue eyes that had once promised her the world and delivered only winter. His arm was draped possessively around Bianca Reynolds, his fiancée, a woman young enough, and blonde enough and compliant enough to be everything Faye had refused to become. Donovan raised his champagne glass in Faye's direction, a mocking salute, his smile sharp as broken glass. 4, 3, 2. The grand doors behind Faye burst open. Cold January air rushed into the heated ballroom, carrying with it the sound of small running feet on marble. 3 identical boys in navy blue suits exploded through the entrance, their dark curls bouncing with each step, their gray eyes wide with excitement and wonder. They pushed through the forest of adult legs, weaving between shocked guests, heading straight for Faye with the single-minded determination of homing missiles. 1. Mama. The word came in perfect unison from 3 small mouths. Mama, Happy New Year. The ballroom went silent. Every voice died mid-cheer. Every champagne glass froze halfway to painted lips. Every eye turned to stare at the woman they had been whispering about all night. The woman Donovan Ashcroft had divorced 3 years ago. The woman he had publicly declared broken and incapable of family, now kneeling on the ballroom floor with 3 children wrapped around her like living proof of every lie he had ever told. Have you ever been told you were not enough? That something fundamental inside you was missing, broken, defective? Have you ever had someone you loved look at you with disappointment so deep it felt like drowning, and tell you that you would never be capable of the very thing you wanted most? Have you ever wanted to prove someone so devastatingly, completely, publicly wrong that you could taste it? This is that moment. This is the moment 3 years of pain collided with 3 perfect boys and one truth Donovan Ashcroft never saw coming. If you have ever wanted to see karma arrive in real time, if you have ever needed to believe that the people who break you do not get to win, stay with me. Because what happened in that ballroom at midnight changed everything. And I promise you, you will not want to miss a single second of this. But before we get to how those ballroom doors opened and 3 little boys ran through, before we get to the look on Donovan Ashcroft, his face when his entire narrative shattered like the champagne glass that slipped from his fingers, we need to go back. We need to understand how Faye Brennan went from broken divorcee to the woman who walked into that ballroom knowing exactly what midnight would bring. Hit that subscribe button right now because this story is about to take you on a journey, and I can promise you, by the end, you will believe in second chances again. 3 months earlier, September morning in coastal Oregon, Faye stood in her kitchen watching her husband Kieran Wells attempt to make pancakes while simultaneously preventing 3 two-year-olds from covering themselves in batter. Flour dusted his dark hair like premature gray. Batter splattered across his worn Stanford architecture t-shirt. Beckett, Wyatt, and Finley sat in their high chairs banging spoons against plastic trays with the rhythmic enthusiasm of a drum corps. More, Dada, Beckett said, his gray eyes serious and focused. More pancake. We have not finished the first pancakes yet, buddy, Kieran said, flipping. Something that looked more like abstract art than breakfast food. Patience. No patience, Wyatt declared, which pretty much summed up his entire personality. Want it now. Finley just hummed to himself, a tuneless song that somehow made perfect sense to him. He was the quietest of the 3, the observer, the one who felt everything deeply and expressed it in his own time. Faye smiled despite the anxiety coiling in her stomach. This was her life now, this beautiful chaos. This man who wore flour like a badge of honor and never once complained about being outnumbered. These 3 boys who looked exactly alike but could not be more different in temperament. This kitchen that smelled like burned pancakes and sounded like joy. Her phone buzzed on the counter. An email notification. She picked it up, saw the sender, and her smile faded. Kieran noticed immediately. He always did. "What is it?" "Email from Mrs. Hartley," Faye said quietly. "About the gala. The Ashcroft New Year's gala." Kieran set down the spatula and came around the kitchen island. He wiped his flour-covered hands on a dish towel and pulled Faye into his arms, not caring that he was getting pancake batter on her robe. "You do not have to go. The museum's largest benefactor will be there," Faye said into his chest. "Mrs. Hartley made it very clear. I am the head curator now. I am expected to attend, to schmooze, to represent the Hartley Museum professionally. In Chicago. In Chicago, at the Ashcroft Hotel. Yes, where Donovan will definitely be, almost certainly." Kieran pulled back enough to look at her face. His hands came up to frame her cheeks, his thumbs stroking her cheekbones gently. "Then, we go together. All of us. We turn it into a family trip. I can meet with that firm that wanted to talk about the community center redesign. We can take the boys to the Children's Museum. We can make it about us, not about him." Faye closed her eyes. This was the difference. This was what she had not understood she was missing until she found it. Donovan would have told her to handle it alone, would have said business trips were no place for children, would have made her feel like her career was a burden and her desire to include him was neediness. Kieran said, "We. I do not want him to see the boys," Faye whispered. "I do not want him to know they exist." "Why?" Kieran asked gently, not judging, genuinely asking. Faye opened her eyes. "Because he told everyone I was incapable. He spent 2 years making me believe something was wrong with me. He filed for divorce and then spent the next 6 months telling everyone in our social circle that I was too career-focused, too cold, too selfish to ever be a real wife or mother. I left Chicago because I could not walk into a room without seeing pity or judgment in people's eyes. And now you have proof he was wrong. I do not need to prove anything to him." "No," Kieran agreed. "You do not need to, but maybe you want to. And that is different." "Pancake burning," Beckett announced calmly from his high chair. "Smell bad." Kieran laughed and returned to the stove, rescuing what was left of breakfast. Faye watched him plate slightly charred pancakes, cut them into toddler-sized pieces, distribute them among 3 eager boys. Watched him kiss the top of each dark curly head. Beckett, Wyatt, Finley. His sons, not biologically, but in every way that actually mattered. "What if," Faye said slowly, "we did go? All of us. But we did it strategically." Kieran looked up, interest sparking in his eyes. "I am listening. What if I went to the party alone first? Showed my face. Let Donovan see me. Let him say whatever he is going to say. Let him perform for his audience. Okay. And then, right before midnight, you arrive. With the boys." Kieran's smile spread slowly across his face. "Dramatic. He deserves dramatic. He deserves a lot worse than dramatic, honestly. But yes, let's do it." Kieran paused, considering. "Are you sure? Once we do this, we cannot take it back. Everyone will know. Your old life and your new life will collide." Faye looked at her sons, at her husband, at the life she had built from the ashes of who she used to be. "I am sure. I have been hiding for 3 years. I am tired of letting him have that power. I am tired of being afraid." "Then we do it your way," Kieran said. "You walk in there and remind him exactly what he lost. And at midnight, we show him exactly what you found." The decision, once made, felt both terrifying and liberating. Faye spent the next 2 months preparing. She bought the emerald green dress because it was Donovan's least favorite color on her. He had always insisted she wear black or navy, colors that faded into the background, that did not draw attention. She bought it specifically because he would hate it. She had the boys' little navy suits tailored to perfection. She practiced what she would say if Donovan confronted her. She worked with her therapist on staying grounded, on remembering her worth, on understanding that his words had no power unless she gave them power. And she told exactly 3 people the plan. Her mother, who lived in Arizona and immediately approved. Her therapist, who asked careful questions about motivation and healing. And Rosa, her assistant at the museum, who said this is either the bravest or most reckless thing you have ever done, possibly both. And I am here for it. December 30 first arrived with cold sunshine and nervous energy. Faye and Kieran flew into Chicago O'Hare with 3 toddlers who thought airplanes were the greatest invention in human history. They checked into a hotel near Lincoln Park, far from the Ashcroft Hotel, in a neighborhood Faye had never frequented during her marriage. The boys napped while Faye got ready. She stood in the hotel bathroom, applying makeup with hands that trembled slightly. Kieran appeared in the doorway, already dressed in dark jeans and a sweater. Casual and perfect, and completely unconcerned with impressing anyone. "You look beautiful," he said. "I look like I am going to war. Same thing sometimes." He came up behind her, meeting her eyes in the mirror. "You do not have to do this. We can order room service and watch the ball drop on TV, with 3 toddlers who will be asleep by 9. "No," Faye said. "I need to do this. I need to stop running from my past. You are not running. You left. That is different." Faye turned to face him. "When I left Chicago, I was broken. I believed everything Donovan said about me. I thought I was defective. I thought no one would ever want me. I thought I would never have the family I dreamed about. And then I met you." "Best coffee shop mistake I ever made," Kieran said, referencing the morning. He had grabbed her latte by accident and changed both their lives. "You showed me what real partnership looks like. You showed me I was not broken. You gave me these 3 perfect boys. But there is still a part of me that hears Donovan's voice, that wonders if he was right, that feels ashamed of needing help with the kids or taking time for my career or not being perfect. Faye, tonight, I take that power back. Tonight, I look him in the eye and I know with absolute certainty that he was wrong about me. About all of it." Kieran kissed her forehead. "Then let's go prove it." The Ashcroft Hotel rose against the Chicago skyline like a monument to excess, glass and steel and old money. Faye had been inside 1,000 times during her marriage, had hosted charity events in this very ballroom, had smiled for photographs and made small talk and pretended her life was perfect while dying inside. The valet took her car, the same valet who used to greet her as Mrs. Ashcroft. He did not recognize her now, 3 years later, her hair a different length, her face free of the pinched anxiety she used to carry like a second skin. The lobby dripped with New Year's Eve opulence, gold and white balloon arrangements, champagne stations, women in gowns that cost more than most people's monthly rent, men discussing stock portfolios and mergers. The world Faye had left behind. She took the elevator to the 3rd-floor ballroom, checked her coat, smoothed her green dress, took a breath, walked through the doors. Mrs. Hartley spotted her immediately. "Faye, darling, you came. I am so pleased." Mrs. Hartley was 76 years old, kind-faced, genuinely passionate about art. She had hired Faye sight unseen based on her portfolio and a phone interview, never asking why she had left Chicago, never prying into her personal life. She was, in many ways, the reason Faye had a career to return to. "I would not miss it," Faye said, accepting the older woman's hand. "Thank you for the invitation." "Nonsense. You are part of the Hartley family now. Your work on the Impressionist exhibition has been extraordinary. I have been bragging about you to everyone. Come, let me introduce you to some of our other benefactors." Faye let herself be led into the crowd. She shook hands. She discussed Monet's water lilies and Degas' dancers. She talked about the upcoming spring gala and fundraising goals. She focused on the work, the art, the things that made sense. And then she felt it, the change in air pressure, the prickling awareness at the back of her neck. Donovan Ashcroft had entered the ballroom. She did not turn around, did not give him the satisfaction, but she heard his voice, that cultured baritone that could charm or cut with equal skill, heard him greeting people, heard the responses, the deference. He was, after all, one of the wealthiest real estate developers in Chicago. People courted his favor. Mrs. Hartley was introducing Faye to a couple who collected 19th century American art when Donovan's voice came from directly behind her. Faye, just her name. Flat, surprised. She turned slowly, composing her face into polite neutrality. Donovan, what a surprise. He looked exactly as she remembered. Tall, broad-shouldered, his dark hair graying slightly at the temples in a way that only made him look more distinguished. His suit was bespoke. His watch was Patek Philippe. Everything about him screamed success, power, control. And on his arm, looking like she'd stepped out of a magazine spread, was Bianca Reynolds, 28 years old to Donovan's 46. Blonde, beautiful, her hand resting possessively on his forearm, a diamond the size of a quail egg glittering on her ring finger. "I did not realize you were back in Chicago," Donovan said. His eyes traveled over her green dress with something like disapproval. "Still at that little museum in Oregon?" "Actually, I am head curator at the Hartley Museum now," Faye said evenly. "Mrs. Hartley recruited me 6 months ago." Mrs. Hartley beamed. "Faye is brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. We are lucky to have her." "How nice," Donovan said in a tone that suggested it was anything but. "And this must keep you very busy." It was the opening salvo. Faye recognized it immediately, the implication that her work was consuming, obsessive, more important to her than anything else. The groundwork for his narrative. "I manage," Faye said. Bianca extended her hand, her smile professional and slightly pitying. "I am Bianca Reynolds, Donovan's fiancée." "Congratulations," Faye said, shaking her hand. "We are getting married in June," Bianca continued. "At his estate. It will be a small ceremony. Just close friends and family. Intimate, you know. Donovan wants something real this time. Something meaningful." The barb landed cleanly. This time, as opposed to last time, as opposed to the marriage to Faye, which was apparently neither real nor meaningful. "That sounds lovely," Faye said, her voice not betraying the clench in her stomach. Donovan's smile sharpened. "Bianca understands what I need in a partner. Someone who prioritizes family. Someone warm. Present. You understand." "Of course," Faye said. Mrs. Hartley, bless her, seemed to sense the tension. She touched Faye's arm gently. "Darling, I need to steal you away. There is someone I want you to meet. Excuse us." She guided Faye across the ballroom, away from Donovan and his beautiful young fiancée. Once they were out of earshot, she leaned close. "That man is a snake. You know him?" "I know of him, and I have heard stories." Mrs. Hartley's eyes were sharp despite her age. "Are you all right?" "Yes," Faye said. "Thank you. If he bothers you, I will have security remove him. I do not care how much money he has. That will not be necessary. But I appreciate it." Mrs. Hartley studied her face. "You are stronger than you look, are not you?" "I have had to be," Faye said. The next hour was a master class in endurance. Donovan seemed determined to remain in Faye's vicinity, not speaking to her directly, but always close enough that she could hear his conversations, always loud enough that his words carried. To a group of business associates, "My ex-wife never understood the demands of building an empire. She wanted me to be home for dinner every night. In this business, that is not realistic. You have to prioritize." To a cluster of women who looked like they spent their afternoons at the country club, "Some women are just not built for marriage. Too independent, too focused on themselves." It is not a criticism, just a fact. You have to know what you want. To a younger couple Faye vaguely recognized. "I wasted 2 years trying to start a family with someone who was never really committed to the idea. Now I have found someone who wants the same things I do. Life is too short to settle." Each comment was designed to reach Faye's ears. Each one was calibrated to cut. He was rewriting history in real time, painting himself as the victim of Faye's inadequacy. The long-suffering husband who finally found happiness with someone better. Faye stood near a champagne fountain, holding a glass of sparkling water she had not sipped, listening to him dismantle her character. To people who did not know her, who would believe him because he was Donovan Ashcroft and she was just his forgettable ex-wife. Her phone buzzed. She looked down. Kieran had sent a photo. 3 boys in their navy suits, bow ties slightly askew, grinning at the camera. "Ready when you are," the text said. "Just say the word." Faye checked the time. 9:27. 2.5 hours until midnight. "Not yet," she texted back. "Let him talk." The ballroom filled as the evening progressed. Dinner was served at long tables draped in white silk. Faye found herself seated at Mrs. Hartley's table, surrounded by museum board members and donors, safe for the moment. She picked at salmon and asparagus, made conversation about grant applications and donor cultivation, smiled until her face hurt. Donovan was 3 tables away. She could see him holding court, Bianca beside him, laughing at his jokes, touching his arm, playing her role perfectly. The adoring younger woman. The proof that Donovan was desirable, vital, capable of inspiring devotion. During dessert, a man Faye did not recognize approached the table. He was older, perhaps 60, with silver hair and an expensive suit. "Mrs. Hartley," he said warmly. Wonderful party as always. Thank you, Harold. Let me introduce you to our head curator, Faye Brennan. This is Harold Chen. He sits on the board of the Art Institute. They shook hands. Faye Brennan, Harold repeated thoughtfully. Why does that name sound familiar? I used to live in Chicago, Faye said, several years ago. Ah, and what was your name then? Maiden name or married name? Faye hesitated only a fraction of a second. It was Ashcroft, Faye Ashcroft. Recognition dawned on Harold's face, followed quickly by something uncomfortable. Awkwardness. Pity. Oh, you were married to Donovan? Yes. I am sorry. I heard that ended badly. It ended, Faye said neutrally. How it ended depends on who you ask. Harold glanced across the room to where Donovan sat. For what it is worth, I never believed most of what he said. Donovan has a tendency to revise history in his favor. Faye felt a small spark of warmth. Thank you for saying that. After Harold moved on, Mrs. Hartley leaned close. See, not everyone believes his version. But enough people do, Faye said quietly. Then perhaps, Mrs. Hartley said with a small smile, it is time they learned the truth. At 10:15, people began migrating from the dinner tables to the center of the ballroom. A massive screen descended from the ceiling, showing the New Year's Eve celebration in Times Square. The energy shifted, anticipation building. Midnight was an hour and 45 minutes away. Faye excused herself from the table and walked toward the floor-to-ceiling windows that overlooked Michigan Avenue. The city glittered below, light stretching to the horizon. She had loved Chicago once, had imagined building a life here. Children in Lincoln Park, family dinners. Growing old in the city she called home. Donovan had taken that dream and shattered it so thoroughly she had fled 1,500 miles to escape the pieces. You are thinking too hard. Faye turned. Donovan stood beside her, close enough that she could smell his cologne. Tom Ford, the same one he had worn throughout their marriage. Just enjoying the view, Faye said. I have been watching you tonight, Donovan said. You seem different. People change. Do they? He studied her face. You look the same, a little older maybe, but the same. Thank you, I think. It was not a compliment. He took a sip of his champagne. You know, I have been thinking about you lately, about us. Faye's stomach tightened. Please, do not. Do not what? Be honest? He moved slightly closer. I may have been too hasty with the divorce. We had problems, yes, but maybe we gave up too easily. You gave up, Faye said quietly. You filed. You left, because you gave me no choice. You were never present, Faye. Always at that museum. Always prioritizing your career over our marriage. You told me to stay out of your business. You told me to find my own interests. I did not mean for you to disappear into them. Faye turned to face him fully. What did you want from me, Donovan? Honestly, what would have made you happy? He seemed to consider the question. I wanted a partner, someone who supported my goals, someone who wanted to build a family. I wanted those things too. Did you? Because we tried for 2 years and nothing happened. The doctor said we were both healthy, that it just takes time sometimes. Or maybe, Donovan said, his voice dropping lower, you did not really want it. Maybe your body knew what your mind would not admit, that you were not ready, not willing, not capable. There it was, the knife he always twisted. The accusation that her body's refusal to conceive on his timeline was somehow a moral failing, a psychological deficiency, proof that she was fundamentally broken. Faye's phone buzzed in her clutch. She pulled it out, grateful for the interruption. Another text from Kieran. Boys are getting restless. Beckett asked if there will be fancy cookies. Should I tell him yes? Faye smiled, despite herself. Tell him yes. Tell him there are cookies and cake and more sugar than Dada usually allows. Who are you texting? Donovan's voice had an edge now. Do you have a boyfriend, Faye? Someone back in Oregon? Faye looked up at him. That is none of your business. Still so secretive. Still keeping yourself locked away. He shook his head. That was always your problem. You never let anyone in. Before Faye could respond, Bianca appeared, slightly breathless, her hand on her rounded stomach. Donovan, I am not feeling well. Can we go? We just got here, Donovan said without looking at her. It has been 2 hours, and I am exhausted. The baby is pressing on my bladder and my feet hurt, and I just want to go home." "Then go home," Donovan said, finally turning to look at his fiancée. "I am staying." Bianca's face fell. "You want me to drive home alone? I am 7 months pregnant. You drove here fine. You can drive home fine." Faye watched this exchange with a creeping sense of déjà vu. How many times had Donovan dismissed her needs this casually? How many times had he made it clear that what she wanted was inconvenient, irrational, less important than what he wanted? Bianca's eyes filled with tears. "Fine. I will go." "Do not be dramatic," Donovan said. "I am not being dramatic. I am tired and pregnant, and my fiancé just told me to drive myself home at 10:30 at night so he can stay at a party." "We will talk about this later," Donovan said tersely. "No, we will talk about it now." Bianca's voice was rising. People were starting to notice. "You have been watching your ex-wife all night, making comments about her, comparing me to her. I am carrying your baby, and you care more about proving something to a woman you divorced 3 years ago." "Bianca," Donovan's voice was low and warning. "Not here." "Then where? When? You keep saying, we will talk later, but later never comes." Bianca wiped her eyes, smearing mascara. "I am leaving. You can stay. You can do whatever you want. You always do." She turned and walked toward the coat check. Donovan watched her go, his jaw clenched, his face flushed with anger and embarrassment. Several guests were openly staring now. He turned back to Faye. "This is your fault." "Excuse me?" "She is insecure because of you, because of how our marriage ended." "I have not thought about you in 3 years," Faye said. "And I certainly have not done anything to make your fiancé insecure. That is all you, Donovan. You are here, are not you? At my hotel, at an event you knew I would attend. Mrs. Hartley invited me. This has nothing to do with you. Everything has to do with me." He stepped closer, his voice dropping. "You came here to make me feel guilty, to remind me of what we had." "We had nothing," Faye said. "We had a marriage where you controlled everything and blamed me when I was not grateful enough for the privilege. We had 2 years of you making me feel defective because I did not get pregnant on your schedule. We had a divorce where you told everyone who would listen that I was cold and selfish and broken. That is what we had, Donovan, and I do not want it back." His hand shot out and gripped her wrist. Not hard enough to hurt, but firm enough to make his point. "Do not rewrite history. You were the problem. You could not give me what I needed." Faye looked down at his hand on her wrist, then back up at his face. "Let go of me. We are not done talking." "Yes, we are. Let go. Now." For a long moment, he did not move. Then a voice came from beside them. "Is there a problem here?" They both turned. A security guard stood a few feet away, his posture alert, his eyes on Donovan's hand. Donovan released Faye's wrist immediately. "No problem. Just a private conversation." The guard looked at Faye. "Ma'am, I am fine," Faye said. "Thank you." The guard nodded but did not leave. He repositioned himself near the windows, clearly keeping them in his line of sight. Donovan smoothed his suit jacket. "You have changed." "Yes," Faye said. "I have. Not for the better. You would not know better if it introduced itself." Faye picked up her clutch. "Excuse me." She walked away before he could respond. Her hands were shaking. Her heart was racing. She needed air, space, a moment to collect herself. She headed toward the ladies' room, locked herself in a stall, and let herself breathe. Her phone buzzed. "Kieran, you okay? You have not texted in a while." She typed back. "He is being exactly who I knew he would be. I am okay. Just remembering why I left." "Want us to come now? We can be there in 20 minutes. Faye checked the time. 10:43. "No. Stick to the plan. Midnight. I need to see this through. You are braver than you think. Or stupider. Definitely braver." Faye splashed cold water on her wrists, fixed her lipstick, and returned to the ballroom. The crowd had grown. More people arriving for the midnight countdown. The energy was building, excitement and champagne, and the promise of new beginnings. She found Mrs. Hartley near the dessert table. "Are you all right, dear? I saw you talking to Donovan." "I am fine. He is a bully." "Yes," Faye agreed. "He is. You do not have to stay. You have made your appearance. You have done your professional duty. If you want to leave, no one would blame you." Faye looked across the ballroom. Donovan was holding court near the bar, surrounded by admirers, a fresh champagne glass in his hand. Bianca was gone. His fiancée, 7 months pregnant with his child, had driven herself home alone because he could not be bothered to leave early. And he was laughing, performing, acting like nothing had happened. "No," Faye said quietly. "I am staying. Until midnight." Mrs. Hartley squeezed her hand. "Then I am staying with you." The next hour passed in strange, suspended animation. Faye moved through the party like a ghost, there but not there, watching Donovan work the room. He was drinking more now, his movements looser, his voice louder. Without Bianca to moderate him, he became what he always was underneath the polish. Entitled, cruel, convinced of his own superiority. At 11:15, he cornered one of Faye's former friends, a woman named Diane, who had stopped calling after the divorce. Faye watched from across the room as Donovan leaned close, said something that made Diane's face tighten with discomfort. She could not hear the words, but she knew. He was telling stories, spinning his version of their marriage, making sure everyone knew that Faye Ashcroft had been the problem. At 11:30, the lights dimmed slightly. The screen showing Times Square grew brighter. The host's voice filled the ballroom. 30 minutes until midnight. 30 minutes until a brand new year. Faye's phone buzzed. "Kieran, leaving now. Traffic is light. We will be there in 15 minutes. Her heart rate spiked. "Okay, park on the street side entrance. Text me when you are in the lobby. The boys are excited. Beckett wants to know if people will be surprised to see them." Faye smiled. "Tell him yes. People will be very surprised." At 11:35, Donovan approached her again. He was definitely drunk now. Not sloppy, but loose. His tie was loosened. His eyes were bright with champagne and something meaner. "Still here," he said. "I thought you would have run away by now. That is what you do, right? Run when things get difficult?" "I am exactly where I want to be," Faye said. "Alone at a New Year's Eve party. Pathetic. I am not alone. Really." He made a show of looking around. "I do not see anyone with you. That does not mean I am alone. Still keeping secrets. Still hiding. You know what I think, Faye? I think you are exactly the same as you always were. Closed off. Incapable of real connection. Destined to die alone with your precious art collection." Faye looked at him. Really looked at him. Saw him clearly for perhaps the first time. This man who had once held her heart. This man she had tried so hard to please, to be enough for, to make love her. He was small. Not physically, but in every way that mattered. His world was so narrow, his understanding so limited. He genuinely believed that his inability to love her was her deficiency. "You are wrong about me," Faye said quietly. "About all of it. Am the first? Prove it. I do not need to prove anything to you. Because you cannot." His smile was vicious. "You could not give me a family. You could not be the wife I needed. And now you are here, alone, exactly as I said you would be." Faye checked her phone. 11:48. Kieran had texted. "In the lobby. Boys are ready. Give me the signal." She looked up at Donovan. "You are right about one thing. I could not be the wife you needed. Because you needed a servant, not a partner. You needed someone to worship you, not love you. I could not do that. I tried, but I could not." "So you admit it," Donovan said triumphantly. "I admit that we were wrong for each other, that you wanted something I was not willing to become, that leaving you was the best decision I ever made." "The best decision? You left with nothing. No money, no connections, no future." "I left with myself," Faye said. That was enough. Around them, people were gathering in the center of the ballroom. The countdown was starting. The energy was building. Donovan was still talking, still making his points, but Faye was not listening anymore. She was moving toward the entrance, toward the double doors, toward midnight. "Where are you going?" Donovan called after her. Faye did not answer. She reached the entrance. Through the glass doors, she could see into the hotel lobby, could see Kieran standing there, tall and calm, Beckett on his hip, could see Wyatt and Finley on either side of him, holding his hands, bouncing with excitement, could see her life, her real life, the one she had built after Donovan. The ballroom erupted in sound. 10, 9, 8, Faye opened the door. 7, 6, 5. Kieran saw her. He smiled. He said something to the boys. 4, 3, 2. Finley broke free first, running toward his mother with the single-minded determination of a toddler on a mission. 1. All 3 boys were running now, their small dress shoes clicking on marble, their bow ties bouncing, their faces bright with joy. Happy New Year, Mama. The word echoed through the ballroom. 3 voices. Perfect unison. Mama, Happy New Year. Faye dropped to her knees, catching all 3 boys as they crashed into her. Arms and legs and curly hair and the smell of baby shampoo and joy. Pure, uncomplicated joy. Mama, Beckett said seriously, we stayed up so late. There were so many lights, Wyatt added, his eyes huge. On all the buildings. I missed you, Finley whispered, wrapping his arms around her neck. I missed you too, baby, Faye said. I missed all of you. She looked up. Kieran had reached them. He extended his hand, helping her to her feet. The boys clung to her dress, her legs, refusing to let go. Hey, beautiful, Kieran said quietly. He kissed her temple, his hands settling naturally on her waist. Sorry we are late. Someone needed an emergency bathroom stop right as we were leaving the hotel. You are right on time, Faye said. She turned to face the ballroom. Every single person was staring. The countdown had finished. Champagne glasses were frozen halfway to lips. Couples who had been kissing pulled apart. The massive space had gone completely silent. Mrs. Hartley recovered first. She approached with a delighted smile. Faye, you did not tell me you had children. Faye felt Kieran's hand squeeze her waist gently. Support, solidarity, yes, these are my sons. Beckett, Wyatt, and Finley. They will be 3 in August. 3 years old. The math rippled through the crowd like a wave. Whispers started. Eyes moved from the children to Faye to Donovan, who stood in the center of the ballroom, completely frozen, his face drained of all color. And this must be your husband, Mrs. Hartley continued, extending her hand to Kieran. Kieran Wells, he said warmly. Faye's husband. It is a pleasure to meet you. The pleasure is mine. Mrs. Hartley knelt down to the boy's level. And what handsome young men you are. Are you having fun staying up so late? There are fancy cookies, Wyatt announced solemnly. Dada said so. Mrs. Hartley laughed. There are indeed fancy cookies. Would you like to see them? Yes, please, all 3 boys chorused. Other guests began to approach. The spell was broken. Women cooed over the triplets. Men shook Kieran's hand. People asked questions. How old are they? When did you get married? Why have we not seen them before? Faye answered calmly. The boys are almost 3. Kieran and I have been married 2.5 years. We live in Oregon. This is their first trip to Chicago. But in the background, she could feel Donovan's stare. Could see him standing motionless, his champagne glass dangling from his fingers. Could see the exact moment his brain processed what he was seeing. 3 identical boys. Dark curly hair. Gray eyes. Eyes that looked exactly like Kieran Wells's eyes. Someone near Donovan whispered something. He turned to look at them, then back at the children. Then, at Faye. He started walking toward her. The crowd parted automatically. Everyone could feel the tension. Everyone knew something significant was happening. Donovan stopped 3 feet away. His voice, when he spoke, was hoarse. You have children? Yes, Faye said simply. 3 of them. Yes. His eyes moved to Kieran, assessing, calculating. And you are married? Yes. How long? 2.5 years. Donovan's jaw clenched. You were pregnant when we got divorced. No, Faye said. I found out I was pregnant 3 weeks after our divorce was finalized. His face flushed dark red. You did not tell me. Why would I? Because they could be mine. They are not yours, Faye said clearly. They are mine. And Kieran's. You have nothing to do with them. Donovan looked at the boys again. Beckett was holding Faye's hand. Wyatt had wandered over to the dessert table and was staring longingly at a tower of cream puffs. Finley had his thumb in his mouth, leaning against Kieran's leg. I have a right to know if I have children, Donovan said. You gave up any rights 3 years ago when you divorced me and told everyone I was defective. This is not over. His hands were shaking. If those are my biological children, I will get a lawyer. I will demand a paternity test. Do what you need to do, Faye said. But know this. Even if biology said you were their father, you would never be their dad. You gave that up when you walked away. Kieran stepped forward slightly. I think you should leave, he said quietly. You are making the children uncomfortable. Who the hell are you to tell me anything? I am the man who has been there since the beginning. I was at the ultrasound when we found out it was triplets. I was in the delivery room when they were born. I have changed their diapers and walked them through nightmares and taught them to say please and thank you. I am their father in every way that actually matters. And you? You are just a man who is making a scene at a party. The silence that followed Kieran's words was absolute. Even the background music seemed to have stopped. Every eye in the ballroom was fixed on the three men standing in a triangle of tension. Donovan, red-faced and shaking. Kieran, calm and immovable. And between them, Faye, holding the hand of a 3-year-old boy who had no idea he was standing at the center of a storm. A woman's voice cut through the quiet. Donovan, what is going on? Everyone turned. A tall woman in her 60s stood near the bar, her silver hair swept into an elegant chignon, her expression confused. Patricia Ashcroft, Donovan's mother. Mom, Donovan said tightly. This is not a good time. Patricia moved closer, her eyes taking in the scene. Faye, is that you? Hello, Patricia, Faye said quietly. Patricia's gaze dropped to the 3 children. Her hand went to her throat. Oh my God. Donovan turned to his mother. Did you know about what? Patricia was staring at Beckett with an expression of shock. That child looks exactly like you did at that age. He is not mine, Donovan said, but his voice lacked conviction. Are you certain? Because the resemblance is uncanny. Faye intervened. Patricia, these are my sons, Beckett, Wyatt, and Finley, and this is my husband, Kieran Wells. Patricia's eyes moved from the children to Kieran to Faye. When did this happen? When did you remarry? 2.5 years ago. And the children? Will be 3 in August. Patricia did the math quickly. She had always been sharp. So, you were pregnant shortly after the divorce? Yes. Did you tell Donovan? No. Why not? Faye looked at Donovan, then back at his mother. Because by the time I knew I was pregnant, he had already spent months telling everyone. Who would listen that I was cold, selfish, and incapable of being a mother? I decided he did not deserve to know. Patricia's lips pressed into a thin line. She looked at her son. What exactly did you tell people? The truth, Donovan said defensively. That Faye was more interested in her career than in our marriage. That she did not want children. That is a lie, Faye said. I wanted children desperately. But you decided that because I did not get pregnant within your preferred timeline, something was wrong with me. We tried for 2 years, and the doctor said we were both healthy. That these things take time, but you did not want to wait. You wanted proof, evidence, a baby to show everyone that you were capable. Donovan's face was dangerously red now. You are twisting everything. Am I? Faye's voice rose slightly. You told your mother I did not want children. You told your friends I was defective. You told everyone at your club that I was broken. And then you filed for divorce and started dating someone young enough to be your daughter. Bianca is 32, Donovan snapped. She is 28, and she is 7 months pregnant. And you let her drive home alone tonight because you could not be bothered to leave a party early. That has nothing to do with this. It has everything to do with this. Faye took a step closer to him. You do not want to be a father, Donovan. You want to win. You want proof that you were right and I was wrong. You want a child like you want a new watch or a new car, as evidence of your success. But fatherhood is not a trophy. It is showing up every day. It is 3 a.m. feedings and dirty diapers, and reading the same book 17 times because your child loves it. It is putting someone else's needs before your own, and you have never done that in your life. You do not know anything about my life now. I know you let your pregnant fiancée leave alone. I know you have spent this entire evening harassing me instead of being with her. I know that even now, standing here looking at 3 children who might be yours, your first thought is not about them. It is about you, about your rights, your image, your narrative. Patricia spoke quietly. She is right, Donovan. Donovan turned to his mother in disbelief. You are taking her side? I am taking the side of truth. Patricia moved closer to the children. She knelt down carefully, her expensive gown pooling around her. Hello, Beckett. I am Patricia. Beckett regarded her seriously. Are you someone's grandma? I am Donovan's mother. And if what I think is true, I might be your grandmother too. Faye tensed. Patricia, please do not. Patricia looked up at her. I am not trying to cause trouble. But Faye, look at this child. He has Donovan's eyes. His chin, the exact same cowlick at his hairline. Genetics are complicated, Faye said. Not this complicated. Patricia stood. I think we need to have a serious conversation, all of us, away from this crowd. Mrs. Hartley appeared at Faye's elbow. Perhaps you could use one of the hotel's private conference rooms. I can arrange it. That will not be necessary, Faye said firmly. There is nothing to discuss. There is everything to discuss, Donovan said. If those children are biologically mine, I have rights. You have no rights, Faye said. You abandoned me. You slandered me. You made my life in this city unbearable. I owe you nothing. The law might disagree. Then get a lawyer. Take me to court. Demand your paternity test. Do whatever you think you need to do. But these boys are going back to our hotel right now because it is past their bedtime and they do not need to be part of this circus. She turned to Kieran. Can you take them? I will meet you there. You sure? Kieran asked quietly. Yes. I need to finish this. Kieran nodded. He scooped up Finley, who was already half asleep against his leg. Come on, guys. Let's go find those fancy cookies and then head back to the hotel. But the party, Wyatt protested. The party is for grown-ups. You have had your adventure. Now, it is time for bed. Beckett took Kieran's free hand without argument. Wyatt hesitated, then followed. As they walked toward the exit, dozens of eyes tracked them, watching the way Kieran moved with the easy confidence of a man who had done this 1,000 times, watching the way the children trusted him completely. Patricia watched them go with an unreadable expression. He seems like a good father. He is, Faye said. Better than my son? That is not a fair question. Why not? It seems relevant. Kieran is present. He is patient. He loves those boys more than anything in the world. He has never once made them feel like they are obligations or burdens or proof of anything. He is their father because he chooses to be, every single day. And Donovan never had that choice. Donovan made his choice 3 years ago when he walked away. Donovan finally found his voice again. Stop talking about me like I am not here. And stop rewriting history. I left because you gave me no other option. I gave you every option, Faye said, turning to face him. I went to marriage counseling alone when you refused to go. I read books about communication and intimacy. I tried to be more spontaneous, more available, more whatever you said I was not being. I bent myself into shapes I did not recognize trying to make you happy. And it was never enough because the problem was not me. The problem was that you do not know how to love someone who does not worship you. That is not true. Bianca worships you. She hangs on your every word. She wears what you tell her to wear and goes where you tell her to go and probably thinks what you tell her to think. And you still sent her home alone tonight. So tell me, Donovan, if even worship is not enough for you, what is? He had no answer. He stood there, his jaw working, his hands clenched into fists, fury and humiliation warring on his face. I need to know, he finally said. If those children are mine, I need to know. Why? Faye asked. What will you do with that information? I will file for custody, partial custody, visitation rights. Based on what? You have never met them. You did not know they existed until 15 minutes ago. You have provided no financial support. You have no relationship with them whatsoever. That is your fault. You kept them from me. I kept them safe from you. The words hung in the air like a slap. What is that supposed to mean? Donovan's voice was dangerous now. It means I know who you are. I know how you make people feel. Small, inadequate, never quite good enough. I lived with that for 2 years and it nearly destroyed me. I was not going to let you do that to my children. Our children, Donovan corrected. No, my children. And Kieran's. You are just a man who might share some DNA. That does not make you a father. A father is a biological fact. No. A father is a man who shows up, a man who loves unconditionally, a man who puts his children's needs before his ego. You are none of those things. You do not know what I am capable of. Yes, I do. I was married to you for 2 years. I know exactly what you are capable of. Control, manipulation, cruelty disguised as honesty. That is your repertoire, Donovan. That is all you have ever been capable of. Patricia cleared her throat. Faye, I understand you are angry. You have every right to be angry. But those children deserve to know their biological family. They have a family, Faye said. A loving, supportive family. They have a father who adores them. They have grandparents in Oregon who babysit every Thursday. They have friends and neighbors and a community. They do not need anything else. What about medical history? Patricia pressed. What if there are genetic conditions they should know about? Then give me the medical history, and I will give it to their pediatrician. What about identity? What about their right to know where they come from? They come from love, Faye said. That is all they need to know right now. When they are older, if they ask questions, I will answer them honestly. But I will not subject 3-year-olds to Donovan's need for control. This is not about control, Donovan said. This is about rights. Everything with you is about control. You could not control me, so you destroyed my reputation. You cannot control this situation, so you are threatening lawyers and court battles. But you cannot control my children. I will not let you. The crowd around them had grown. More people arriving for the midnight celebration had stopped to watch the drama unfolding. Phones were out. People were filming. By tomorrow, this would be all over Chicago society social media. Mrs. Hartley touched Faye's arm gently. Dear, perhaps we should move this conversation somewhere private. No, Faye said. Let them watch. Let them hear. Let everyone here know exactly what kind of man Donovan Ashcroft is. Donovan's face went from red to white. You are making a scene. You made a scene of my entire life 3 years ago. Turnabout seems fair. I could destroy you for this. Professionally. Financially. You already tried to destroy me. I survived. I rebuilt. And I am stronger now than I ever was with you. Faye, Patricia said quietly. Please, can we just have a conversation? Tomorrow, in daylight, when emotions are not so high. Faye looked at the older woman. She had never disliked Patricia. Donovan's mother had been kind to her during the marriage, though ultimately she had sided with her son during the divorce. But there was genuine concern in her face now. Not manipulation, not strategy, real concern. What do you want to talk about? Faye asked. I want to understand what happened. I want to know my potential grandchildren. I want to find a solution that works for everyone. There is no solution that includes Donovan having access to my children. What if it was supervised? What if it was limited? What if there were conditions? What if the answer is no? Patricia sighed. Then I suppose we will see you in court. The threat was delivered gently, but it was still a threat. Faye felt exhaustion wash over her. This was what she had known would happen. This was why she had hidden for 3 years. Because once Donovan knew, he would not let go. He would fight. He would make it ugly. He would use every resource at his disposal to win. Talk to your lawyer, Faye said. Have them contact mine. But I am done having this conversation tonight. She turned to leave. Donovan's voice stopped her. Wait. She paused but did not turn around. Are they mine? Biologically. Honestly, are they mine? Faye was quiet for a long moment. The entire ballroom seemed to be holding its breath. Then she turned her head slightly, enough to see him in her peripheral vision. Does it matter? Whether they are or are not, you will never be their father. I made sure of that when I married a man who knows what fatherhood actually means. She walked away before he could respond. Walked through the crowd that parted silently before her. Walked past the champagne fountains and the dessert tables and the decorations celebrating new beginnings. Walked out of the ballroom, through the lobby, into the cold Chicago night. Her car was still with the valet. She gave him her ticket, waited in the freezing January air, and tried to stop shaking. The adrenaline was wearing off now. The reality of what had just happened was settling in. Donovan would not let this go. He would hire lawyers. He would demand paternity tests. He would fight for rights to children he had never met and did not actually want. And the worst part, the part that made Faye want to scream, was that the children were his. Biologically, scientifically, the triplets were Donovan Ashcroft's sons. She had lied to him. To everyone. The story about Kieran being their biological father was fabricated, a necessary fiction. because the truth was complicated in ways she had not wanted to explain tonight. The truth was that Faye had left Chicago immediately after the divorce was finalized, had driven to Oregon in a fog of grief and shame, had arrived in a small coastal town and rented a tiny apartment, and tried to figure out who she was without Donovan's voice in her head. And 3 weeks later, she realized she was late. The pregnancy test came back positive. Then another, 6 tests in total because she could not believe it, could not process it. After 2 years of trying with Donovan, after countless negative tests, after his accusations that she was the problem, she was pregnant, and he was already gone. She could have called him, could have told him, but the thought made her physically ill. The thought of being tied to him forever through a child. The thought of him using that child as leverage, as proof, as another thing to control. So she decided to keep it a secret. And then she met Kieran, and fell in love, and told him about the pregnancy before she told him her last name. Told him the baby was her ex-husband's, but that the ex-husband did not know and she wanted to keep it that way. Kieran had not run, had not judged, had just asked, "What do you need?" What she needed was a partner, a real one, someone who would be there, who would love this baby, not because of biology, but because of choice. So Kieran chose them, was at the first ultrasound, was there when they discovered it was not 1 baby but 3, was in the delivery room when 3 identical boys entered the world, was listed on the birth certificates as their father, and he was their father, in every way that mattered. Biology was just chemistry. Fatherhood was showing up, and Kieran had showed up every single day for 3 years. But legally, technically, scientifically, the boys were Donovan's, and now he knew they existed. Faye's car arrived. She tipped the valet and drove through empty Chicago streets back to the hotel in Lincoln Park, parked in the garage, took the elevator to the 5th floor, used her keycard to open the door to their suite. Inside, Kieran had all 3 boys in pajamas. They were eating cookies and drinking milk, perched on the edge of one bed, watching the ball drop on TV. "Mama," Wyatt called. "You missed it." The ball went down, and everyone yelled. "I am sorry I missed it, baby," Faye said. Kieran looked up, his eyes searching her face. "You okay?" Faye nodded, then shook her head, then started crying. Kieran was up immediately, herding the boys toward the bathroom. Teeth, brushing time. Quick, let's see who can finish first. While he managed bedtime routines, Faye sat on the edge of the bed and let herself fall apart. Silent tears that would not stop. The weight of 3 years of hiding. The fear of what came next. The exhaustion of pretending to be strong. 20 minutes later, all 3 boys were asleep in one of the suite's bedrooms. Kieran closed the door quietly and came to sit beside Faye on the bed. He did not say anything, just put his arm around her and let her cry into his shoulder. When the tears finally stopped, Faye pulled back. He knows. I figured. He is going to fight. Going to demand paternity tests. Going to want custody or visitation or something. Probably. What do we do? Kieran was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "We tell the truth. We get ahead of it. We talk to a lawyer tomorrow. We file the necessary paperwork. We let the court decide. What if they give him custody? They will not. He abandoned you. He has had no contact with the children. He provides no financial support. At most, he might get supervised visitation. A few hours a month. We can handle that. What if he turns them against me? What if he tells them I kept them from him? Then we tell them the truth when they are old enough to understand. That you protected them. That you chose their well-being over his rights. That love is more important than biology." Faye leaned into him. "How are you so calm?" "I am not calm. I am terrified. But I learned a long time ago that fear does not change outcomes. Action does. So we take action. We protect our family. We trust the legal system. And we do not let him take our peace." "Our family," Faye repeated softly. "Yes, our family. Those 3 boys in there are mine. I do not care what DNA says. I have earned the title of father. Donovan has not. He is going to say terrible things about me. Let him. People who know you know the truth. People who know him will believe him. Then those people do not matter." Faye pulled back to look at Kieran's face. "Why are you not angry with me? For lying. For putting you in this position. You did not lie. You protected yourself and your children from someone who hurt you. That is not lying. That is surviving. But the boys, if it comes out that you are not their biological father, I am their father in every way that counts. Biology is just a technicality. The courts might not see it that way. Then we fight, and we win, because we have something Donovan does not. What? The truth, and love, and 3 years of being present. You cannot fake that in a courtroom. Faye rested her head on his shoulder again. I am sorry. I should never have gone to that party. No, you should have. You faced him. You stopped running. That took courage. It took stupidity. Sometimes those are the same thing. Kieran kissed the top of her head. Get some sleep. Tomorrow we start dealing with this. Tonight, we rest. But Faye could not sleep. She lay in bed listening to Kieran's breathing even out beside her, listening to the quiet sounds of the city outside their window, and thought about what came next. Donovan would hire the best lawyers money could buy. He would paint himself as the victim. The father denied his children. He would make Faye look vindictive, spiteful, cruel. And some people would believe him, but others would not. Others had seen him at the party tonight, had watched him let Bianca leave alone, had heard him say cruel things about Faye all evening, had witnessed his rage when the truth came out. Actions spoke louder than words, and Donovan's actions tonight had spoken volumes. Faye rolled over and looked at Kieran's sleeping face. This man who had taken on another man's children without hesitation, who had loved her when she felt unlovable, who had shown her what real partnership looked like. She would not let Donovan take this from her, from them, from the boys. She would fight, and this time she would win. The morning after the party arrived with pale winter sunlight and the sound of 3 toddlers jumping on hotel beds. Faye woke to Wyatt's voice declaring, I am a superhero, and Beckett's calm response, you are going to fall. She opened her eyes just in time to see Finley execute a perfect belly flop onto the mattress between her and Kieran. Oof, Kieran grunted. Good morning to you too, buddy. Morning, Dada, Finley said cheerfully. Can we have pancakes? We had pancakes yesterday, but I want pancakes today too. Kieran looked at Faye over Finley's curly head. How are you feeling? Like I just detonated a bomb in my old life, Faye said. Accurate description. Mama said bomb, Wyatt announced from his bed, scandalized. That is a bad word. No, bomb is just a word. We do not say other words. What other words? Nice try. Get dressed. We are going to find breakfast. 30 minutes later, they were in a diner, 3 blocks from the hotel. The boys were destroying a plate of chocolate chip pancakes while Faye pushed, scrambled eggs around her plate, and tried not to think about what was coming. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. This is Patricia Ashcroft. I hope you do not mind that I got your number from the museum directory. I would very much like to speak with you today. Please. Faye showed the text to Kieran. What do you think? I think she is trying to do damage control, Kieran said. But that does not mean you should not hear her out. I do not want to hear her out. I want to go home and pretend last night never happened. Too late for that. I know. Another text arrived. This one from a number she recognized. Bianca Reynolds. Can we talk? Please. I need to understand what happened. Faye closed her eyes. This is going to be a very long day. By the time they got back to the hotel, Faye had 3 more texts from Patricia, 2 voicemails from numbers she did not recognize, and 1 email from a law firm called Henderson & Associates requesting contact information for Faye's legal representation. That was fast, Kieran said. Donovan does not waste time. What do you want to do? Faye looked at the boys who were building a fort out of hotel pillows, completely oblivious to the adult chaos swirling around them. I want to find a lawyer. Today. Before Donovan gets any further ahead. Kieran pulled out his laptop. I am on it. While Kieran researched family law attorneys in Chicago, Faye sat on the hotel bed and made a decision. She texted Patricia back. I can meet at 2 p.m., public place, coffee shop on Clark Street near the museum. Patricia's response came immediately. Thank you. I will be there. Then Faye texted Bianca. I can meet at 11 a.m., same coffee shop. Just you, not Donovan. Bianca responded. Just me. I promise. Kieran looked up from his computer. Found someone. Jennifer Martinez. She specializes in family law and parental rights. Has excellent reviews. She can see you at 4 today. Book it, Faye said. The coffee shop was called Grindhouse. It was busy enough to feel safe, but quiet enough to have a conversation. Faye arrived at 10:50 and ordered tea she would not drink. At exactly 11, Bianca walked through the door. She looked different in daylight. Younger. Tired. Her blonde hair was pulled into a messy ponytail. She wore yoga pants and an oversized sweater that emphasized her pregnant belly. No makeup. No jewelry except the massive engagement ring. She saw Faye and walked over slowly, one hand on her lower back. "Can I sit? Please." Bianca lowered herself into the chair with the careful movements of late pregnancy. "Thank you for meeting me. You said you wanted to talk. I need to understand what happened last night. Donovan came home at 3 in the morning. He was drunk. He told me you kept his children from him, that you lied about everything, that you are trying to destroy him, and you believed him." Bianca looked down at her hands. "I do not know what to believe. That is why I am here." Faye studied the younger woman. Up close, without the armor of expensive clothes and professional styling, Bianca looked like what she was. A woman in her late 20s who had gotten in over her head with. A man who saw her as a solution to a problem rather than a person. "What did Donovan tell you about me?" Faye asked. "About our marriage. He said you were focused on your career, that you did not want children, that you grew apart and the divorce was mutual. It was not mutual. He filed because I did not get pregnant fast enough. He said you had fertility issues. We both went to doctors. We were both healthy. But after 2 years without pregnancy, Donovan decided the problem was me. Not medically, psychologically. He said I was too cold, too selfish, that my body knew I was not ready to be a mother, and that is why it was not happening." Bianca's face tightened. "That is horrible. He told me this almost daily for 6 months before he filed for divorce. And then after the divorce, he told everyone we knew that I was defective. He told me you agreed the divorce was best. I agreed to sign the papers. That is different than agreeing it was best. And the children?" Bianca's hand moved unconsciously to her stomach. "Are they his?" Faye had known this question was coming, had prepared for it, but saying the words out loud still felt like stepping off a cliff. "Biologically, yes, they are Donovan's sons." Bianca went very still. "But you told him they were your husbands." "I told him Kieran is their father," which is true. Kieran has been their father since before they were born, but not biologically. "No, not biologically. Why did you not tell Donovan you were pregnant?" Faye took a breath. "Because 3 weeks after our divorce was finalized, I was in Oregon trying to figure out who I was without his voice in my head telling me I was broken. I took a pregnancy test on a whim. It came back positive. I took 5 more tests because I could not believe it. After 2 years of trying, after all his accusations, I was pregnant. And you decided not to tell him. I decided that being tied to Donovan Ashcroft for the rest of my life through a child would destroy me. I decided that he had given up any right to know when he spent 6 months publicly humiliating me. I decided that my child deserved better than a father who saw them as proof of his virility rather than a person to love." Bianca was crying now, silent tears running down her face. "He does that to me too. Makes me feel like I am only valuable because of what I can give him. Then why are you with him? I thought he loved me. I thought I was different, special. You are not different. You are just younger, more compliant, easier to control." The words were harsh, but Bianca did not flinch. "I know. I have known for a while, but I am 7 months pregnant with his baby and I do not know what else to do." "Leave," Faye said, "the same way I did." "And go where?" "I moved to Chicago for him. I do not have family here. I do not have friends anymore. He did not like them, so I stopped seeing them." Faye leaned forward. "Listen to me very carefully. You are in an abusive relationship, not physically, but emotionally. The isolation, the control, the making you doubt yourself, that is abuse. He has never hit me. There are many ways to hurt someone without raising a hand." Bianca wiped her eyes. "What should I do?" "First, document everything. Every time he dismisses you, every time he makes you feel small, write it down with dates and times. Second, get your own bank account that he does not have access to. Third, Find a therapist who specializes in emotional abuse. 4th, make a plan. Where will you go when you leave? How will you support yourself? What do you need? That sounds like you have done this before. I have. It took me a year to leave after I decided to go. A year of planning and saving and building up the courage. And then I left, and I never looked back. Do you regret it? Not for a single second. Faye paused. Leaving Donovan was the best decision I ever made. It led me to Kieran, to my boys, to a life where I am valued for who I am, not what I can provide. Bianca looked at her for a long moment. I am sorry for what he put you through, and for believing his version. You did not know. He is very good at making people believe him. What is going to happen now? With the children? He is going to demand a paternity test. He is going to fight for custody or visitation. He's going to make this as ugly as possible because that is what he does when he does not get his way. And you? I am going to protect my sons, whatever it takes. Even if it means a court battle. Especially if it means a court battle. Bianca stood slowly. Thank you for being honest with me. Thank you for asking. Faye hesitated. If you need help leaving, I can connect you with resources. I might take you up on that. Bianca pulled out her phone. Can I have your number? They exchanged numbers. Bianca left. Faye sat in the coffee shop and tried to process the conversation. 3 years ago, she would have hated Bianca, the young, beautiful woman who replaced her. But now she just felt sad. Sad that Donovan was doing to Bianca exactly what he had done to her. Sad that another woman was learning the hard way that Donovan Ashcroft was incapable of real love. At 2 p.m., Patricia Ashcroft walked into the coffee shop wearing a camel coat and pearls. She ordered coffee and sat down across from Faye with a carefully composed expression. Thank you for meeting me, Patricia said. What do you want? I want to understand. Patricia folded her hands on the table. I thought I knew what happened between you and Donovan. He told me you were incompatible, that you wanted different things. I believed him. Most people did. But last night, I saw 3 children who look exactly like my son did at that age, and I realized everything he told me was a lie. Not everything. We were incompatible. We did want different things. He wanted someone who would disappear into his life. I wanted a partner. He said you did not want children. I desperately wanted children. That is why I went to every doctor's appointment. That is why I took my temperature and tracked my cycle and did everything the doctors suggested. But Donovan decided that because it did not happen immediately, I was the problem. Why did you not tell him you were pregnant? For the same reason I left Chicago. Because staying in his orbit was destroying me. Patricia took a sip of her coffee. I am not here to judge you. I am here to ask for a chance. A chance at what? To know my grandchildren. Faye had expected this, had known it was coming. But hearing it out loud still made her chest tighten. They are not your grandchildren. Biologically they are. Biology does not make family. Perhaps not, but it is a starting point. Patricia's voice was gentle. I am not asking for custody. I am not asking for anything that would disrupt their lives. I am asking for a chance to meet them, to know them, to be part of their lives in whatever capacity you are comfortable with. You sided with Donovan in the divorce. He is my son. Of course I sided with him, even though he was wrong. I did not know he was wrong. He is very convincing. He still is. He convinced Bianca that I was the villain. He will convince a judge that he deserves access to my children. Perhaps. Patricia set down her coffee cup. Or perhaps you let him meet them on your terms before it gets to a judge. Perhaps you control the narrative instead of letting him control it. Faye studied the older woman. What are you suggesting? I am suggesting that fighting Donovan in court will be expensive and ugly and traumatic for everyone involved. I am suggesting that you might consider allowing supervised visits, with conditions. On your terms. Why would I do that? Because judges favor parents who demonstrate willingness to co-parent. Because refusing all contact makes you look vindictive. Because giving him supervised visits with strict conditions protects the children while making you look reasonable. You sound like a lawyer. I have been married to a lawyer for 40 years. You pick things up. Patricia leaned forward slightly. I know my son. He is not doing this because he loves those children. He is doing this because he cannot stand losing. But if you give him limited access, he will lose interest. He will realize that being a father is work, that it is inconvenient, that it does not give him the validation he wants, and he will walk away. And if he does not, then you have documentation that you tried to facilitate a relationship, that you were cooperative and reasonable, that he was the one who could not handle it. Faye hated that Patricia's logic made sense. What kind of conditions? Supervised visits only. A neutral third party present at all times. No overnight visits. No taking them out of state. Limited hours. And if he misses visits or behaves inappropriately, the arrangement ends. And you? What do you want? Patricia smiled sadly. I would like to meet them, to send birthday gifts, to be a grandmother from a distance. I am not asking to be central in their lives, just present at the edges. Why should I trust you? Because unlike my son, I am capable of admitting when I am wrong. I was wrong about you. I was wrong to believe Donovan's version without questioning it. I am trying to do better now. Faye was quiet for a long moment. I will think about it. That is all I can promise. That is all I am asking. After Patricia left, Faye sat in the coffee shop and felt the weight of the decision pressing down on her. Everything Patricia said made strategic sense, but strategy was not the same as safety, and Faye's first priority was keeping her boys safe. At 4 p.m., Faye and Kieran sat in Jennifer Martinez's office. Jennifer was in her 40s with dark hair and sharp eyes. She listened to their story without interrupting, taking notes on a legal pad. When they finished, Jennifer set down her pen. First thing you need to know is that this is going to be messy. Donovan has money and resources, and he's going to use them. We figured. Second thing you need to know is that you have advantages. You have been the sole caretaker for 3 years. You have provided stable housing and healthcare and education. Kieran is listed on the birth certificates as the father. Donovan has had 0 contact and provided 0 financial support. Will a judge order a paternity test? Faye asked. Almost certainly, and it will come back showing Donovan is the biological father. And then it gets complicated. Biologically, Donovan has parental rights, but rights are not the same as custody. The court will consider what is in the best interest of the children, which is stability, the status quo, not disrupting their lives for a man they have never met who has shown no previous interest in being a father. What about Patricia's suggestion? Supervised visits with conditions? Jennifer nodded slowly. That is actually smart. It makes you look cooperative. It gives Donovan access without giving him control, and it creates a record of his behavior. What kind of conditions? You decide when and where. You decide who supervises. You decide how long the visits last. You set rules about behavior, about what he can say to the children, about consequences for missed visits. And you document everything. What if he fights those conditions? Then you let him fight, and you show the judge that you offered reasonable accommodation, and he rejected it because he wants control, not relationship. How long will this take? Months, maybe a year. Family court moves slowly. Kieran spoke for the first time since they sat down. What are the chances he gets custody? Any custody? Jennifer considered the question carefully. Sole custody? 0 chance. Joint custody? Unlikely given the circumstances. Supervised visitation? Maybe, depending on how he behaves and what he demonstrates to the court. And if he loses interest? Kieran asked. Then the problem solves itself. Jennifer smiled slightly. In my experience, men who fight for parental rights because of ego tend to lose interest quickly when they realize children are work. If Donovan is the man you describe, he will not last 6 months of supervised visits with toddlers. So what do we do now? Faye asked. Now we file papers establishing you as the primary custodial parent with Kieran as the legal father. We wait for Donovan to file his petition. We respond to his petition by offering supervised visitation with conditions. We make you look like the reasonable party. And we prepare for court. When? I can have the initial filing done by Monday. Then we wait for Donovan's response. Faye and Kieran left the lawyer's office and walked through cold Chicago streets back to their hotel. The boys were with a babysitter service the hotel had recommended. When they got back to the suite, all 3 were watching cartoons and eating goldfish crackers. Mama, Beckett said without taking his eyes off the TV. We had adventures today. Did you? We went to the park and I went on the swings really high. That sounds fun. Are we going home soon? Soon, baby. A few more days. That night, after the boys were asleep, Faye stood at the hotel window looking out at Chicago's glittering skyline. Kieran came up behind her and wrapped his arms around her waist. "Penny, for your thoughts," he said. "I am thinking about how different my life would be if I had stayed. Different bad or different bad. Just different. If I had stayed, I would have believed I was broken. I would have spent the rest of my life trying to fix something that was not actually broken. I would have missed out on you, on them, on everything that matters. Do you regret any of it?" Faye thought about the question. "I regret marrying Donovan, but I do not regret leaving him. And I do not regret the boys, even though the situation is complicated. They are worth the complication. Yes, they are. Whatever happens, we will handle it together." Faye turned in his arms. "How did I get so lucky?" "Lucky? You had to kiss a lot of frogs to find me." "One frog. You are the second man I have ever been with." "Really? Really? Well then, I am the lucky one." They stood at the window together, watching the city lights, and Faye felt something settle in her chest. Peace. Not complete, not perfect, but real. Whatever came next, they would face it together, and that made all the difference. 2 weeks later, back in Oregon, Faye received the official court summons. Donovan had filed for paternity testing in partial custody. His petition painted a picture of a father denied his rights by a vindictive ex-wife. It claimed Faye had deliberately concealed the pregnancy and children to punish him. It requested joint physical custody with equal parenting time. Jennifer filed a response the same day. The response laid out the timeline, the divorce, the pregnancy occurring after the divorce was finalized, Faye's decision to move forward with her life, Kieran's role as the children's father from birth, the offer of supervised visitation with conditions. It painted a picture of a mother protecting her children from a man who had shown no interest in fatherhood until it became a matter of pride. The paternity test was scheduled for March 15th. Faye had to bring the boys back to Chicago, had to let strangers swab their cheeks, had to explain to 3-year-olds why people wanted their spit, why they want my spit, Wyatt asked suspiciously. For a test, Faye explained. What kind of test? A science test. This seemed to satisfy him. I like science. The results came back 2 weeks later. Donovan Ashcroft was the biological father of Beckett, Wyatt, and Finley Wells. Probability of paternity, 99.9%. Faye stared at the official document and felt nothing. She had known this was coming, had known what the test would say, but seeing it in black and white still felt like a punch to the stomach. Kieran found her sitting at the kitchen table, the test results in front of her, tears running down her face. "Hey," he said softly. "Hey, this does not change anything. It changes everything. It changes nothing that matters. I am still their dad. You are still their mom. We are still a family." He has proof now, proof of biology, not proof of fatherhood. The court will not see it that way. Maybe not, but the boys will. When they are old enough to understand, they will know who was there, who showed up, who loved them. Faye wiped her eyes. "I am scared." "Me too. But we do not let fear win. We fight." The first court date was set for May 3rd. Both parties were required to appear. Faye left the boys with her mother in Arizona and flew to Chicago with Kieran. They stayed in the same hotel in Lincoln Park, the same room where they had stayed during New Year's. The courthouse was downtown, gray stone and metal detectors and people with hard faces. Faye and Kieran met Jennifer in the lobby. "Ready?" Jennifer asked. "No," Faye said. "Good. Overconfidence is dangerous. Come on." They took an elevator to the 4th floor. Family court. The hallway was full of people with legal pads and briefcases. Faye saw Donovan at the end of the hall talking to a man in an expensive suit. His lawyer. Donovan saw her and his expression hardened. "Do not engage," Jennifer said quietly. "Just walk past." They walked to the courtroom, sat on hard wooden benches, waited. The judge was a woman in her 60s named Margaret Morrison. She had gray hair and reading glasses, and an expression that suggested she had seen everything and was impressed by nothing. The hearing began. Donovan's lawyer spoke first. He painted a picture of a father denied his fundamental rights. He talked about the importance of biology. He requested joint physical custody with parenting time to begin immediately. Jennifer stood to respond. She laid out the timeline. She emphasized Kieran's role as the legal and functional father. She pointed out that Donovan had provided no financial support and had made no attempt to see the children until he accidentally discovered their existence. She offered supervised visitation with conditions as a reasonable starting point. Judge Morrison listened without expression. Then she asked a question. "Mr. Ashcroft, did you know about these children before January 1st of this year?" "No, Your Honor," Donovan said. "Did you attempt to contact Ms. Brennan after the divorce?" "No." "Did you provide any financial support?" "I did not know they existed." Judge Morrison looked at Faye. "Ms. Brennan, why did you not inform Mr. Ashcroft of your pregnancy?" Faye stood, because he had spent the previous 6 months telling everyone we knew that I was incapable of being a mother, because he had destroyed my reputation and my sense of self-worth, because I believed that tying myself to him for life through a child would destroy me. That was not your decision to make alone. With respect, Your Honor, it was. He filed for divorce. He ended our marriage. I was under no obligation to inform him of anything after that. The law might disagree. Then the law needs to consider the full context. Emotional abuse, public humiliation, complete absence of support or interest for 3 years. Judge Morrison made a note. "Mr. Ashcroft, are you currently in a relationship?" "Yes, Your Honor. I am engaged to Bianca Reynolds." "And Ms. Reynolds is pregnant?" "Yes. She is due in 2 months. So you will have 4 children, 3 with Ms. Brennan and 1 with Ms. Reynolds." "Yes." "Have you made arrangements for parenting time with the new baby?" Donovan hesitated. "We are discussing options." "What kind of options?" "Bianca may take maternity leave from work to be home with the baby." "And you?" "I will continue working." "How many hours per week do you work?" 60 to 70 typically. "And you want joint physical custody of 3 toddlers?" "I want to be part of my son's lives." Judge Morrison removed her glasses. "Mr. Ashcroft, I am looking at the evidence in front of me. You work 70 hours per week. You have a pregnant fiancée. You have had 0 contact with these children for their entire lives. You have provided no financial support. And you want me to immediately grant you significant parenting time with children who do not know you. They do not know me because their mother kept them from me. Their mother made a decision based on your behavior during the marriage, a decision that, while legally questionable, is understandable given the circumstances." Judge Morrison put her glasses back on. "Here is my ruling. I am ordering a psychological evaluation of both parents. I am ordering a custody evaluation by a neutral third party. I am ordering Ms. Brennan to provide financial documentation showing how she has supported these children. And I am ordering both parties to attend mediation to establish a temporary parenting plan." "What about immediate visitation?" Donovan's lawyer asked. "Supervised only, 2 hours per week, at a neutral location with a court-approved supervisor. We will reconvene in 3 months to review the evaluations and determine permanent custody arrangements." The gavel came down. The hearing was over. Faye walked out of the courtroom feeling like she had been hit by a truck. 2 hours per week. Donovan would see her boys 2 hours per week. "It could be worse," Jennifer said. "It could be unsupervised. It could be overnight. We can work with this." "When does it start?" "Next week. They will assign a supervisor and a location. You will receive notification." The first supervised visit was scheduled for May 10th at a family resource center on the north side of Chicago. Faye had to bring the boys back to Chicago, had to explain to them that they were going to meet someone. "Who are we meeting?" Beckett asked in the car on the way to the center. "A man named Donovan," Faye said. "Why?" "Because he wants to meet you." "Is he nice?" "I do not know, baby. You will have to decide for yourself." The resource center was bright and cheerful with toys and books and a supervisor named Karen, who had kind eyes and gray hair. She introduced herself to the boys and showed them the playroom. Donovan arrived 15 minutes late. He was wearing jeans and a sweater, trying to look approachable. Faye watched through a one-way window as he entered the playroom. "Hi," he said to the boys. "I am Donovan." The 3 boys stared at him. Beckett moved closer to Karen. Wyatt picked up a toy truck and held it protectively. Finley's thumb went to his mouth. "I brought you some things," Donovan said. He pulled out 3 wrapped presents from a bag. This was against the rules. Faye had specifically said no gifts at the first visit. But before she could say anything, Karen intervened. "Mr. Ashcroft, we discussed this. No gifts at the first visit. The children need to get to know you without feeling like they are being bribed." Donovan's jaw tightened. "They are just small toys. and they will be here for future visits. Today we just play and talk." Donovan set the gifts aside. He sat down on the floor. "So, what do you guys like to do?" The boys were silent. "Do you like trucks?" Donovan picked up the truck Wyatt was holding. "This is a cool truck." Wyatt pulled it back. "It is mine." "I know. I am just looking. You cannot have it." "I do not want it. I am just trying to be friendly." Wyatt turned away and started playing with the truck by himself. Donovan tried with Beckett. "What about you? What do you like?" "Books," Beckett said quietly. "What kind of books?" "Chapter books. Mama reads us chapter books before bed." "You are a little young for chapter books." "I am not too young. I understand them." "What is your favorite?" "The one about the mouse who is brave." "Stuart Little?" "No, a different mouse." Donovan clearly had no idea what book Beckett meant. He turned to Finley. "And you? What do you like?" Finley just stared at him, thumb in mouth. Karen intervened. "Finley likes music. He sings beautifully." "Oh," Donovan seemed at a loss. "Do you want to sing me a song?" Finley shook his head and moved behind Karen's leg. The 2 hours were excruciating. Donovan tried to engage the boys, tried to play, tried to ask questions. But the boys were not interested. They were polite because Faye had taught them to be polite. But they were not warm. They did not trust him. At the end of 2 hours, Donovan looked frustrated and defeated. The boys ran to Faye the moment she entered the room. "How did it go?" Faye asked Karen quietly while Donovan gathered his things. As expected for a first visit, the children were polite but distant. Mr. Ashcroft seemed uncomfortable. He did better toward the end, but there is clearly no bond. Will it get easier? Depends on him. If he keeps showing up consistently, maybe, but he needs to learn to meet them where they are, instead of expecting them to warm to him immediately. Donovan left without saying goodbye to the boys. Faye watched him walk to his car, get in, and sit there for a long moment before driving away. The second visit the following week went slightly better. Donovan brought coloring books instead of wrapped presents. He asked the boys about their favorite colors. He learned that Beckett liked blue, Wyatt liked red, and Finley liked yellow. Small progress. But by the fourth visit, the pattern was clear. Donovan was trying, but he did not know how to connect with the boys. He spoke to them like small adults instead of children. He got frustrated when they did not understand his jokes. He checked his phone repeatedly during visits. He showed up late twice. Karen documented everything. In June, the custody evaluations were completed. A psychologist named Dr. Rachel Kim interviewed both Faye and Donovan separately, interviewed Kieran, interviewed the boys, observed supervised visits, reviewed financial documents and character references. Her report was 30 pages long. The summary conclusion was clear. The children have a strong, secure attachment to their mother and to Kieran. Wells, who functions as their father in every meaningful capacity. They have no relationship with Donovan Ashcroft despite ongoing supervised visits. Mr. Ashcroft demonstrates limited understanding of child development and age-appropriate behavior. He appears more interested in establishing his parental rights than in building a relationship with the children. The report recommended that Faye retain primary physical custody with Kieran retaining his parental status. It recommended that Donovan continue supervised visits, but that overnight or unsupervised visits be delayed until a stronger relationship was established. The second court hearing was in July. Judge Morrison read the custody evaluation, read Karen's reports from the supervised visits, asked Donovan directly why he had been late to 3 visits. "I had work conflicts," Donovan said. "More important than meeting your children? I am building a business. You are building a case for why you should not have expanded visitation." Judge Morrison closed the file. "Here is my ruling. Ms. Brennan retains primary physical and legal custody. Mr. Wells retains his status as legal father. Mr. Ashcroft may continue supervised visits at his current schedule. We will review the situation in 6 months. If Mr. Ashcroft demonstrates consistent attendance and improved relationship with the children, we may consider expanding visitation. If not, we may reduce it." Donovan stood. "Your Honor, this is not fair. They are my biological children. Biology does not trump best interest of the children. And right now, it is in their best interest to maintain stability with the parents they know and trust." The gavel came down. Court dismissed. Outside the courthouse, Donovan confronted Faye and Kieran on the steps. You are poisoning them against me. I have never said a negative word about you to them, Faye said calmly. Then why do they not warm to me? Because you are a stranger. Because they have a father. Because you do not know how to talk to children. I am trying. Trying is showing up on time. Trying is putting your phone away. Trying is learning what they actually like instead of what you think they should like. Donovan's face reddened. I have rights, and you are exercising them. 2 hours per week. That is what the judge ordered. I want more. Then earn more. Build a relationship. Show up consistently. Prove that this is about them and not about winning. Donovan looked at Kieran. You turned her against me. Kieran smiled calmly. I did not have to. You did that yourself years ago. By August, Donovan had missed 5 supervised visits. Work emergencies. Bianca had the baby. He was traveling. Each time he canceled, Karen documented it. Each time he rescheduled, the boys seemed less interested in going. In September, Faye received an email from Donovan's lawyer. Mr. Ashcroft is requesting a modification to the visitation schedule due to work conflicts. He would like to reduce visits to once per month for 3 hours. Jennifer called Faye with the news. He is giving up. Not officially, but practically. What do I do? You agree. You let him reduce the schedule, and you document that it was his choice. By October, Donovan was seeing the boys once per month. The visits were awkward and strained. The boys were polite but distant. Donovan brought gifts and tried to buy their affection. It did not work. In November, he missed 2 consecutive visits. Karen contacted Faye. I think he is done. I have seen this before. Fathers who fight for rights and then realize being a parent is actually hard work. What happens now? We wait. If he misses 3 more visits, you can petition to end the supervised visitation requirement. Donovan missed the December visit, missed the January visit, missed the February visit. In March, exactly 1 year after the paternity test results, Jennifer filed a petition to terminate supervised visitation based on abandonment and failure to maintain contact. Donovan did not contest it. The judge signed the order. Supervised visitation terminated. If Mr. Ashcroft wishes to reinstate visitation in the future, he may petition the court. But he will need to demonstrate substantial change in circumstances and commitment. It was over. Faye stood in the courthouse hallway and felt a weight lift from her shoulders. 1 year of legal battles. 1 year of supervised visits. 1 year of anxiety and stress in protecting her boys. And it was finally over. Kieran put his arm around her. Let's go home. Home was Oregon. Home was their house with the backyard where the boys played. Home was quiet mornings and chaotic evenings and bedtime stories that ran long because someone always wanted one more chapter. On a Saturday morning in April, 2 years after that New Year's Eve party, Faye sat in her kitchen drinking coffee and watching Kieran make pancakes with the boys. They were 4 years old now, taller, more verbal, more independent, but still unmistakably hers. Mama, Finley said, can we go to the park today? If the rain stops. It is not raining. It will rain later. I checked the weather. How do you know? Magic, Faye said, smiling. Mama does not have magic, Beckett said seriously. She has a phone app. Same thing. Her phone buzzed. A text from Bianca. I did it. I left him. I am in Indiana with my parents. Me and Hope. We are safe. Thank you for showing me it was possible. Faye texted back. Proud of you. You are stronger than you know. Another text arrived. This one from Patricia. I wanted you to know that I am no longer in contact with Donovan. What he did to you and to those children is unforgivable. I hope one day you might allow me to send birthday gifts to the boys. I understand if the answer is no, but I wanted to ask. Faye thought about it for a long moment. Then she texted back. Send the gifts to my mother's address in Arizona. She will forward them. But no contact information, no attempts to see them. Just gifts on birthdays and Christmas. If you can respect that, we can try. Patricia responded immediately. Thank you. I will respect your boundaries. I promise. Kieran slid a plate of pancakes in front of Faye. You okay? Yeah. Faye smiled. I am good. What are you thinking about? How far we have come. How different life is now. Better different? So much better. Beckett climbed onto Faye's lap even though he was really too big for it now. Mama, do I have a grandma in Arizona? Yes, you have Grandma Teresa. Do I have other grandmas? You have Kieran's mom, Grandma Susan. Anyone else? Why do you ask? Because Emma at school has 4 grandmas. I only have 2. Well, Faye said carefully, you might have another grandma. A woman named Patricia. She lives in Chicago. She sends you birthday presents. Oh, Beckett thought about this. Can we meet her? Maybe someday when you are older. Okay. Beckett climbed down and returned to his pancakes. Faye looked at Kieran. Was that the right answer? There is no right answer. Just honest answers. That night, after the boys were in bed, Faye and Kieran sat on their back porch watching the Oregon rain fall softly on the garden. Kieran had his arm around her. Faye had her head on his shoulder. Do you ever wonder what would have happened if you had stayed in Chicago? Kieran asked. No, because I know what would have happened. I would have become smaller and smaller until I disappeared completely. You would never disappear. You are too strong. I am strong now because I left, because I found you, because I learned what real love looks like. You knew what real love looked like. You just had to believe you deserved it. Faye turned to look at him. How did you know? That I was worth it. That the boys were worth it. That taking on another man's children was not going to ruin your life. Because love is not math. It is not a transaction. You do not love people because of what they can give you. You love them because you choose to, every day. I chose you. I chose them. And I keep choosing you, even when it was hard, especially when it was hard. Faye kissed him softly. Thank you. For what? For showing me what I was missing. For being patient while I learned to trust again. For loving my boys like they are yours. They are mine. Biology is just science. Fatherhood is showing up. Inside the house, Faye could hear Wyatt calling out in his sleep. Probably a dream about superheroes or dragons or whatever 4-year-olds dreamed about. Kieran stood to go check on him, the way he had every night for 3 years, the way he would for the next 15 years and probably beyond. Faye sat on the porch and thought about everything that had happened. The pain of her marriage to Donovan, the humiliation of the divorce, the fear when she discovered she was pregnant, the terror of going to that New Year's party, the year of legal battles, all of it, and she realized something important. She did not regret any of it, not the pain, not the fear, not even Donovan, because all of it had led her here, to this porch, to this family, to this life. Donovan had tried to break her, had tried to convince her she was defective and incapable and destined to be alone. But he had been wrong about all of it. She was not broken. She was strong. She was not incapable. She was loving. She was not alone. She was surrounded by people who chose her every day. Kieran came back out to the porch. Wyatt wanted you to tuck him in again. Faye stood and went inside, climbed the stairs to the boys' room, tucked Wyatt back under his blanket, kissed his forehead, whispered, I love you. Then she checked on Beckett and Finley, both sound asleep. Beckett had a book on his pillow. Finley had his stuffed rabbit clutched to his chest. These were her boys, not Donovan's, hers, and Kieran's. Biology was irrelevant. Love was what mattered. Presence was what mattered. Showing up day after day after day was what mattered. Faye returned to the porch where Kieran was waiting. They sat together in comfortable silence, listening to the rain, and Faye felt something she had not felt in years. Complete peace. The story could have ended differently. Donovan could have fought harder. The court could have ruled differently. The boys could have bonded with him. But they had not. Because biology was not destiny. Because real fatherhood was earned, not assigned. Because love was a choice, not an obligation. 3 months later, on a sunny July afternoon, Faye received a letter in the mail. It was from Donovan. She almost threw it away without reading it. But curiosity got the better of her. The letter was short. It said, I have thought a lot about the last 2 years, about what you said, about what kind of father I would have been. You were right. I wanted to win. I wanted proof. I wanted validation. I did not want them. I am sorry for putting you through a legal battle when I knew from the first supervised visit that I was not capable of being what they needed. I hope they have a good life. I hope you have a good life. I will not contact you again. It was not an apology. Not really. It was an admission, an acknowledgement. It was the closest Donovan would ever come to taking responsibility. Faye showed the letter to Kieran. How do you feel? He asked. Relieved. He finally told the truth. What are you going to do with it? File it. In case we ever need it. In case the boys ever ask questions. Are you going to respond? No. This conversation is over. Faye put the letter in a file folder labeled legal documents and put the folder in a drawer. She might tell the boys about it someday when they were old enough to understand. Or she might not. That was a decision for another day. On the boys' 5th birthday in August, they had a party in the backyard. 20 children running around. A bounce house. A cake shaped like a castle because they could not agree on one theme, so Faye combined all 3 of their ideas into one ridiculous multicolored castle. Faye's mother was there. Kieran's parents. Bianca drove from Indiana with baby Hope, who was now 2 years old and talking in full sentences. Patricia sent gifts, but did not attend. She was respecting boundaries. Faye watched the chaos and felt her heart fill to bursting. This was family. Not perfect. Not what she had planned when she was 25 and marrying Donovan Ashcroft, but real and beautiful. And hers. Kieran came up behind her and wrapped his arms around her waist. Happy? Beyond happy. The boys ran over, covered in cake frosting and grass stains and joy. Mama, can we open presents now? Wyatt asked. Yes. Go get your brothers and gather everyone. The boys ran off, shouting instructions to their friends. Faye and Kieran followed more slowly. You know what I realized? Faye said. What? Donovan did me a favor. By leaving, by being who he was, he freed me to find this. Kieran squeezed her hand. Then I should send him a thank you card. Do not you dare. They laughed together, and Faye thought about the woman she had been 3 years ago. Broken, ashamed, convinced she was defective. That woman would not recognize her life now. Would not believe this was possible, but it was possible. It was real, and it was hers, because she had done the hardest thing. She had left. She had chosen herself. She had refused to believe the lies. She had built a new life from nothing, and that life was everything. So, here is what I want you to take from this story. If you are in a relationship where someone makes you feel small, leave. If someone tells you that you are broken, they are wrong. If you are afraid to start over because you think you are too old or too damaged or too far gone, you are not. It is never too late to choose yourself. It is never too late to find real love. It is never too late to build the life you deserve. Faye Brennan left at 32 and found everything by 33. She faced her abuser at that New Year's party and proved him wrong. She fought a legal battle and won. She protected her children and built a family based on love instead of biology. And you can too. Whatever you are facing right now, whatever relationship is making you doubt yourself, whatever voice in your head is telling you that you are not enough, I need you to know something. That voice is lying. You are enough. You have always been enough. And the moment you believe that, everything changes. If this story moved you, I need you to do something for me right now. Hit that like button. Subscribe to Love and Twilights with Dr. Phillips, because every single week I bring you stories like this. Stories about real people facing real struggles and finding real hope. Stories that remind you that you are not alone, that you are stronger than you think, that your story is not over. Drop a comment and tell me what resonated with you. Tell me what you are walking away from. Tell me what you are walking toward, because your voice matters. Your story matters. And this community is here to support you. Share this video with someone who needs to hear it. Someone who is in a relationship that is destroying them. Someone who thinks they are too broken to be loved. Someone who needs to be reminded that they deserve better. And remember this, you are not who they said you were. You are not the lies they told about you. You are not broken or defective or incapable of love. You are strong. You are worthy. You are enough, exactly as you are. And the moment you believe that, the moment you choose yourself, everything changes. This is Dr. Phillips from Love and Twilights, reminding you that every ending is a beginning in disguise, that every loss makes room for something better, that the best revenge is not revenge at all. It is living so well, so fully, so joyfully, that the people who hurt you become irrelevant. Faye Brennan walked into that ballroom and faced her past. And at midnight, Her future arrived in the form of 3 little boys and 1 good man. Your future is waiting too. You just have to be brave enough to choose it. See you next week with another story. Until then, choose yourself. Choose love. Choose the life you deserve, because you are worth it.